Hey everybody! Welcome back. Welcome back to Zelda Speedruns. Got some more Twilight Princess action. Any percent here today, the Wolf Dash tournament. Got ourselves a matchup here between JDLM and Kejsmaster. Should be a pretty good match between the two of these. Joined on commentary today. God, I can't talk at the moment. Commentary today by Simikins. We'll be joined by Bruggles later as well. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Sorry for holding up the race for a few minutes, but
I guess I should. I guess I should
ready to go soon.
So I guess I should say tomorrow for you. So,
well, yeah.
Yeah. But with that, let's get this race going. I will turn it over to Simi, so someone who actually knows what he's talking about can get this going.
Still low now. Case. Cool. Okay. But yeah, so this is winners quarterfinals match of Wolf Dash 2 between Kejsmaster and JDLM. Both of them really out. Both of them doing the same route, so it will be very easy to compare the whole way. At least I'm pretty sure they're doing the same route, unless JD is going to mix it up on me. This is going to be a pretty good match, I think, because both of these players are people who've achieved the legendary sub 3 hour time in any percent, and we're off. So again, both of them, there won't be any confusing route differences or anything. Both of them immediately doing the fastest route that there is. Both of them very good players. As I said, both of them with a personal best under 3 hours. Kejsmaster has actually been PBing pretty well recently. Got his time down to 2:55.04, I think it was. And JD... Oh, yeah. Same route, unless they do a stupid trick, which they won't do. So, yes, same route. JD actually has only been back to Twilight Princess for, I don't know, a few months, I guess. He had been away for a couple of years. And actually, so both of them are trying to do the safe version of Back in Time. JD messing it up, unfortunately. And same with Kejsmaster, alright, I guess. That's interesting. So what they're trying to do here is using this rock to clip through the gate, and then they'll be jumping off the bridge such that they void out and then reset on the same frame. And it's possible to just kind of jump off and do it, but for safety in a race context, there's a setup you can use on the other side of this bridge, which is why they're rolling over here. Yeah, I'm going to assume K's was JD. I don't know what's happening there. This trick also only works if you could survive the void out. So JD's probably going to have to just basically restart, because he'll be unable to get back in time with only one heart. Kejsmaster should be getting it now, I expect. Yeah, there we go. So there's the setup. Dropping off from the bridge and opening map on the same frame. Safe way to do the back in time.
Just a heads up, looks like they're both going to go ahead and restart in IRC, so both of them will
go
is that
ahead. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright. So they're both getting back in.
Alright, I mean, that's nice, I guess, that trying to keep it fair.
Timer. There we go. There goes the timer. Gonna give me just 1 second. Reload that to get rid of the quit on there. All right, here we go.
Take 2. And here we go again. So, this time, hopefully, we'll see a cleaner start. In fact, let's pretend that other thing didn't happen. No one saw that. So, starting our match now. Winners quarterfinals between Kejsmaster and JDLM. 2 players with very, very good times. This will be a pretty good match, I think. Of course, as the matches progress through the bracket, which I'll actually just drop in chat for you all if you want to take a peek. As the matches progress, obviously the rounds will get closer and closer, and the times should be getting lower and lower. Earlier on in the tournament, estimate has been about 3.5 to 4 hours for lots of races. These two, I would be very surprised to see anything slower than 3 hours 10 minutes. This time JD getting the bridge hang set up. So both of them getting it successfully, which allows them to both respawn and reset on the same frame, and they spawn on the title screen, which they're going to then jump off, as Kejsmaster did, and save, which will put them back in Farron, but with the items that Link has on the title screen here, as well as a few other flags and attributes. So you'll see now, immediately, JD taking a very small lead with the Hero's Tunic, the Orden Sword, and the Hylian Shield. Important to note, though, while he clearly has these items and can use them, they're not in his inventory properly, so that'll affect a few things later on. But for now, while that did skip, you need to do a few of the first things you do in Orden, getting the fishing rod and the slingshot and saving the cat, not saving the cat, catching a fish for the cat, all that stuff. Not needed due to this glitch. So now moving on to one of the slightly later quests that you have to do while still in Orden, rescuing Talo and the monkey. So they've gone to Koro to get the lantern, needed many times throughout the game, and just making their way through South Farron to rescue Talo. In earlier matches in this tournament, we've seen lots of people do various different routes, from beginner-friendly routes to advanced but safer routes using Zora armor.
Hello.
Or... Hey, Bruggles.
Hi, sorry to interrupt.
It's no problem. So yeah, everybody, now we have our dual commentary that we should be holding on to for at least until halfway, where I'll probably be getting off, but I think Bruggles said stay on the whole time.
Okay, actually, bit of a change of plans, but I'm gonna have to go in a little bit, but I'll be back before halfway.
Oh, okay.
So
checking in to say hi then.
Yep.
So JD with a very small lead, heading up to Talo. Only differences so far have just been a luckier gate clip, basically, and getting the bridge drop for back in time first try. I'm expecting this race to stay pretty tight the whole time. Kejsmaster, while being the third seed in this tournament, below Adam and Ace, I would say probably the favourite to win the whole thing, given his recent performances and PB attempts. Probably playing at the highest level out of anyone at the moment. Actually, just recently getting a personal best for himself of 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 4 seconds. JD, a little bit behind, but still one of the players who's achieved sub 3 hours, which is a huge milestone. And he's actually been playing pretty solid recently, coming close a few times to beating his PB. So I think it'll be close. I'm expecting Kejsmaster will be edged out, but you never know.
This can definitely be a close race.
Yeah. I know JD's actually been having some troubles with kind of mentality towards runs recently in his own attempt to PB. However, in a race context, it might not affect him as much or affect him differently, I guess. One of those goats giving JD some trouble. Seems to tidy it up decently. So a good goat's time is, oh yeah, Kejsmaster showed it off for us, under 20 seconds. So that actually gives him, catches him right up.
Yeah, I think the best goats RTA is like 15 seconds.
Yeah, low 15.
So, but yeah, usually under 20 seconds is what you want.
Under 20 seconds is splendid. But immediately after that, maybe Kejsmaster looked away from his screen for a moment. He kind of just stood in front of the door without opening it. So now, one of the things that is affected by having done back in time at the start, not only do we get these items early, there are a few late game flags, or further through the game flags set. One of which is having Epona tamed, because as you can see on the title screen, Link rides Epona around. And that means that we can talk to Bo to get the iron boots, which normally you wouldn't do until you're trying to head off to Goron Mines. So getting that early will help us with a few things as well. And that's why his text is kind of glitched. You're not supposed to talk to him at this point in the game.
Yeah, and Bo is, it's basically just rock, paper, scissors, but with mashing. It's completely RNG, which is pretty unfortunate because it can kind of desync players really quickly in a race.
Both of them getting pretty good first round though.
Yeah, so hopefully they get a good second round. The best thing to do is just mash B to slap, because
Kejsmaster getting a perfect bow actually.
Yeah, you can, if you slap Bo and then mash A, you can actually push him off in just one push, which is obviously the fastest. So
yeah, so while JD didn't get the best luck, it wasn't bad either. So of course that did give Kejsmaster a slight lead now.
Yeah, I would say usually around 7 minutes and 30 seconds is a pretty decent Iron Boots time. Obviously, it's not that great if you're going for like world record, but in general for a race, they're both on pretty good pace right now.
Yeah, definitely. And note, both of them saving immediately after exiting that house. Not for safety, that is for a trick later on in the run. Another use of back in time as done in the start, where they spawn on the title screen. We'll talk about that when we get there. Now heading off to the first area of the game where we can control or can play as Wolf Link.
Hopefully they get box break. So you may notice right away that Wolf Link has the sword and shield on his back, and that's just because at this point, because we haven't actually gotten the sword and shield yet legitimately, there hasn't been like a flag set for them not to appear. So you'll also notice that when Midna's on Wolf Link, she just kind of clips through the sword and shield.
Yeah. Yeah, while the estimate on ZSR may say 3 hours 30 minutes, do not expect anything slower than 3 hours 10 from both of these players. Things could go very wrong for both of them, and they would still, I expect, get under that time.
Yeah, I would say in general, you know, in a race, you're probably going to lose anywhere from like 3 to 6 minutes from your PB. I mean, of course, you can play better than that, but I would say that's probably about average.
Yeah, I know Kejsmaster actually in his last race, which was against Hebreno, but 2 races were streamed at once, and the other one was Nimzo versus Barchan. And playing against Nimzo, I know motivated Kejsmaster as well as he could, and he actually put out a 257 in a race, which is very good.
Yeah, for
getting
sure.
sub 3 in a race context is, I mean, getting sub 3 at all is a pretty big deal, but in a race, obviously it's not super good for Kejsmaster standards now since he's improved a lot further beyond that.
I mean,
But
getting
race,
sub 3 at all
nice.
is really good, but then getting at 257 is just, it's kind of ridiculous, honestly. 257 is really, really good for a race.
You'll notice actually a small thing to point out that will actually make a small difference in a few places. After these window jumps that Kejsmaster's doing now, after the text, he got it just there, and let's see if JD gets it so we can compare. So he did not get it, and the camera kind of zoomed up to Wolflink. You can do like a quick jump, a 1-frame jump after the text, and as JD did just then as well, you can skip. There's a few cases where you can do a jump attack or something like that in 1 frame to skip some text or save some time. So just there, JD caught up by a couple seconds, skipping some text that Kejsmaster did not.
Yeah, there are a lot of just small optimizations in sewers and rooftops, just some first frame A presses you can get. So like we just saw from JD, right after the Midna text, there's 1 frame where you can jump towards her before you'd have to like wait a little bit. So yeah, there's like 4 or 5 of those.
Funny thing as well, actually. So both of these players doing the fastest route, skipping Zora armor. And while we're talking about these 1-frame inputs, there's quite a lot of places in Twilight Princess where there's like, after digging out of a dig spot, you can dash in a 1-frame window to skip like a half-second animation, or as Bruggles was saying, after the before the midna jumps, you can jump attack in 1 frame and you get it a little bit quicker, saving like almost a second. So there's loads of those all over the run. But in this route, there is also another 1-frame input after defeating some shadow beasts, known as Gorge Void, which I'm sure Bruggles can tell us a bit about Gorge Void.
Gorge Void is really, really bad. It's just a 1-frame A press to jump attack into the void. If you miss it, you lose a minute. And it just saves some time from running back from Farron all the way to Eldon. So instead of doing that twice, you just do it once.
And can I interrupt you quickly? Both of these people now, luring Hugo all the way to the wall, they're going to be doing something called Sword and Shield skip with him, even though they have the Sword and Shield on their back. It's not the real ones, so we need to jump over the midna trigger that Kejsmaster just ran into. This is a pretty costly trick to fail in this kind of setting. JD getting it
first try,
and Kejsmaster also getting it. So
nice.
A little slow on Kejsmaster's side. JD taking a small lead now.
All right, I'm actually
go
gonna
ahead, AX.
have to get. I'm gonna have to get going for now, but I'll be back later. So, bye, Simi. Good luck on commentary, and good luck to the runners.
About halfway. Right, so as AX said, they don't appear in your inventory, which is what's required to clear that midna text. Also, though, it's the Hylian shield, whereas midna wants you to get the Orden shield. Both of them pass it now, and given that they're both doing the Gorge route, they won't be clearing this Twilight at all. They're just going to be ignoring it. So you're going to see them just running past some of the bugs. So that spirit there would normally give you the Vessel of Light to kill these bugs and collect the tears, but don't need to do that because there's actually no hard requirement on beating this Twilight as long as we have some other means to escape this area, which we will eventually. Both of them now only a few seconds apart. Probably like 5 seconds lead for JD. He's going to try and hold on to that for as long as he can. There's another trick coming up which will probably either give Kejs a chance to catch up or let JD cement his lead a bit more. Early Master Sword, another trick that involves an enemy, so you're kind of at the mercy of luck with tricks like that. So just up ahead here, the Shadow Beast fight in this barren area. However, rather than actually killing them, using one of them towards the left here, where JD's going, and bring it near the wall, up to a specific spot here. If you do a minute charge with a correct swing, that's a fast swing, not usable. JD actually getting pretty bad luck, 2 bad swings in a row, 3 bad swings in a row. Kejsmaster also getting bad swings, both of them having to just leave and retry. So JD not even bothering with more hearts, just killing one of the Shadow Beasts to revive it. Okay, there it is for Kejsmaster. Okay, JD gets some hearts now. And navigating out of bounds, as Kejs just did, allows you to get to the Sacred Grove very, very early, and he'll be off to get the Master Sword now in a few minutes. JD now finally getting a good swing, so that's pretty annoying. Both of them getting it on the first time they were able to, but the luck was not on their side. Also, JD actually had kind of low health, so he couldn't... Oh, no, ignore me on that end. So if you're familiar with Twilight Princess at all, you know that the first, basically hour of the run is pretty intense. So we've had, at the very start, Goat and Bow, very luck dependent. Then Sword and Shield skip, very difficult, very punishing to miss. Both of them got it first try, again very luck dependent. Early Master Sword, as they just did with the Shadow Beasts, quite luck dependent, as you saw, and probably not too difficult for these two, but for new players, definitely a difficult trick to learn. And now just traversing through the Sacred Grove, chasing Skullkid to get access to the Master Sword. But then after that as well, there's going to be more tricks coming up. So for now, movement, like small optimizations, obviously matter. But what's going to make the difference between them is basically who can get the tricks first try and who can get them faster as well, since with the level of these players, I think both of them should be getting everything pretty decently. So as long as I can both get through said tricks, it'll come down to the smaller optimizations. So any lead that either of them may have in the first like half an hour, 40 minutes doesn't really count for much until they're both past all the difficult tricks. Because these tricks I've been talking about, another trick coming up, Pillar Clip, there's also Gorge Void. A miss, which, I mean, pretty easy to fail tricks like this, they're very difficult, or precise. can mean a minute or more of time loss, which at this level is pretty huge. JD getting some bad luck there actually. The cutscene not starting because Skullkid was just looking around. That's more animation he can do. Notice as well, another kind of minor but still still important in some places luck factor is rupees. Oh, JD. That's quite unlucky actually, or unfortunate I should say. Accidentally targeting one of the shadow beasts, one of the puppets instead of Skullkid, and making him walk around a bit, so losing some time on a cycle. But yeah, so Kejsmaster on 10 rupees already, JD only on 4. The small amounts like that don't really matter, because they're going to be getting some very large chests soon. Well, not soon, later in the run, to get up to 300, which they both need for to enter one of the later dungeons. But just collecting stray rupees along the way will change which soon, yeah. Will change which rupees they need to kind of tidy up. So they'll be getting 2 orange rupees to get up to 200, and a bunch of red rupees counting for 20 each in Arbiters and some other places, potentially, to make up the difference. So ideally they want to get to like 40 rupees just from stray rupees to avoid the need to get an extra red, losing a bit of time later, but not a huge problem. Just something that could make a small difference here. Kejsmaster pretty rich at the moment. Funny thing I just realized, these two, both players who've gotten sub 3 hours, as I said before, both masters of the game, you could say. JD Link Master and Kejsmaster. Oh yeah, and that's another thing. JD playing on English, Kejsmaster playing in German. While Kejsmaster is German, German is actually the fastest language for this game, but only by about only by exactly 5.6 seconds. So that instantly is a slight advantage to Kejsmaster, but will likely not be a huge deal. And that the reason that JD is not playing on German, I'm sure he would if he had access to it, is he's playing on an NTSC version of the game, and literally the only differences between the NTSC and PAL GameCube versions is the languages available. There's no, well, that I know of, actual in-game differences, so both of them perfectly good for the run. Kejsmaster got a pretty decent lead. Well, 30 seconds. That's something he'll probably be able to hold on to pretty well if they can both get past the upcoming tricks. And I wouldn't be surprised if they, through the entire time, they're both within a minute or two of each other. While I know JD's been having some mentality problems, he's still been playing very well in his own time. And I don't think he'll let Kejsmaster take it easily at all. Yeah, I don't know too much. So, of course, PAL also, I guess, other differences in the versions. NTSC has 480p available. PAL does not, unless you force it through Homebrew. While PAL has the option to do 50 Hz, which I'm pretty sure the game still runs in 60 Hz, but displayed, I'm not really sure. No one plays in 50 Hz. So both now running back through the area they were in before. The the only way for them to get out of the Sacred Grove there was to warp, and they only had one warp option, which was that first Shadow Beast fight they did. And small thing here, having the Master Sword, well, a pretty big deal having the Master Sword this early, allowing you to both transform whenever you want, warp whenever you want, and also just does more damage. So here, rather than doing the murder jumps, you can just transform to human and use the lantern to clear the fog, which even though it doesn't visibly clear, I guess the trigger for it to void you out is actually clearing with the lantern, but you have to actually swing it and you can't just run through it. Now, the save that we talked about earlier after fighting Bo is going to come into effect, because just as they enter the Forest Temple up here, to avoid having to rescue the monkeys to get to the boomerang, the goal here is to get to the boomerang. We won't be beating this dungeon at all. We're going to do back in time again, similar to at the very start of the game. So Kejsmaster, you're going to see saving, so that after back in time you can get back here. And then voiding out just past the entrance. There, he got it first try. And he's now going to jump off the bridge and start, open the title screen while falling. I mean, open that save from earlier. That save specifically, very important. It doesn't work on any save. That's going to bring him to the King Bulbin fight, where he's just going to reset and skip the cutscene. And skipping the cutscene, well, when in boss fights like that, there's a flag called a boss flag. JD getting the back in time as well. Very nice. And resetting stops it from counting down, so in memory, and this affects all files, it's not just limited to that one file he did it in, which is why he can do it in that other file, then come back to his main file, I guess you could call it, and it'll still be useful here. So JD getting the same thing. And that boss flag is shared, I guess to save space in memory or something, I don't know technical side like that. Shared by... Kejsmaster going for the spider skip. Nah, not giving it to him. Actually, giving JD a small opportunity to make back some time. I don't think JD will be attempting it at all, though. But as I was saying, so that flag is shared by monkeys rescued in Forest Temple. So, without having to rescue them, 4 of the monkeys that he needs to get to the boomerang quickly will already be there, and he doesn't need to go through the dungeon. So as you can see here, Kejsmaster's side, he has 1 monkey, then he opens this door and suddenly there's 4. Hooray. JD about to do the same thing. Heading to Ook now, to get the Gale Boomerang, which is probably the most important item in the GameCube version, apart from maybe the Master Sword. Since on the GameCube version you can use it to do a similar thing they did with that Bulblin at the start to skip the mid trigger. You can use it to do long jump attacks, which I'm sure you've seen before if you've seen any Twilight Princess speedruns. But to get it, you have to kill Ook, or beat Ook rather, who can hop around a random amount of times, anywhere from 2 to infinity, basically. Fortunately, we don't have to deal with that multiple times, given that we have the Master Sword. We can just kill him, well, defeat him in 1 cycle rather than 2. JD getting 4 hops, while Kejsmaster got 5. That's maybe just less than a second made up there. And since that's the only reason they've come to Forest Temple, they're just going to equip the items and then leave with a save warp. JD actually saving a tiny bit of time over K's just there, I guess just because of that attempt at spider skip. So shortening his lead by about 5 seconds to only 25 seconds. Now, some more places where I guarantee there'll be some change in the difference between them. Using the Gelboom Ring now, they're going to try and jump over this middle trigger. Dubbed Forest Escape, allowing us to leave without beating the Forest Temple and without beating the Twilight. So, Kejsmaster does its setup list, just runs up, does it, gets it. First try, a little slow, having to do the targets again, but not really a problem at all. I think JD does a setup, which will be a little slower but safer. So, if Kejsmaster does miss it, because they will have to do it another time, potentially even 2 more times if they get Gorge Void, or if they don't get Gorge Void. Then JD will probably make back some time. Now running over to this wall on the right for Kejsmaster. There's a mailman trigger here, but you can throw the boomerang out of bounds and jump clean over it. So coming up, we talked about it before, Gorge Void could be a pretty big difference maker actually for this race, because getting it or missing it is a difference of 1 minute. So JD's skipping the mailman trigger as well, but again, 1 frame input, just unrelated to any other inputs you do, so you have to just kind of wait and try and do it based on a visual cue. 30 FPS by the way, so 1 in 30 seconds. 1/30th of a second, sorry. So after killing these Shadow Beasts, pretty quick fight. Watching Kejsmaster's screen on the right as this portal goes up the top. He gets it, so that is Gorge Void. So run's going pretty well for Kejsmaster now. Let's see if JD can do the same. If he doesn't, that'll be another minute of a lead for Kejsmaster. But I mean, it's not quite over yet. He has to do a very difficult trick called Rupee Roll, which... Well, let's see JD on the left though. JD missing Gorge Void, so that is pretty good for Kejsmaster as it is. So now we're going to see the routes diverge a little bit as Kejsmaster is... Sorry, JD is forced to warp away. So it'll take him a little bit more time to get back to this area. So about a minute 30 seconds of lead for Kejsmaster now. Yeah, so I guess you'll be able to see the slight differences now. Kejsmaster immediately doing a Rupee Roll and then doing a boomerang one jump attack over the gorge and heading straight into this area, while JD was forced to walk back. So Kejsmaster's gonna kill some Shadow Beasts in Elden. He's gonna ignore the Elden Vessel, not gonna start the Twilight yet. And then leave and touch the trigger that JD was forced to touch from the other side of the gorge, because the trigger is just huge. and then that will force him to warp back. And then by that point he'll be in a similar place to JD, except he's already gone the portal in Eldon, whereas JD now is going off to Lanayru first, and then Eldon later. These two are both top 10. JD is rank number 10 with a 259.44. Kejsmaster rank number 4, I think it is, with a 255. So both sub 3. Kejsmaster is a PB quite a bit better, but in a race context, should be a little closer. But yeah, so this is a pretty high caliber race. Two very top players. So JD now, he's just doing things in different order, basically. It'll add up to about a minute slower for JD. But he's doing pillar clip to get to Lakebed Temple early. This is another very difficult trick, very punishing to miss. JD doing a slightly safer method to do it than Kejsmaster. Not quite a strict setup, but not sinking too early, just to be safer about it. So he's going to take off the iron boots, swim up behind the pillar and the wall, and call Midna, which will, while he's sitting on the text, he'll slowly float upwards, hopefully. Yeah, there he is. And then putting on iron boots. So that's the reason why iron boots early is very good. You can use it to access Lakebed early. And with just enough air, you can make it through. And then, fortunately, having the Master Sword means when he save warps here, it puts him past that underwater sequence, which is quite helpful, because otherwise they could not skip the Zora armor. So Kejsmaster's going to be doing the same thing now, trying to clip through the gate here and head in to Lanayru to do the same thing that JD has just done. But remember, Kejsmaster, having gone Gorge Void, is doing them in an order that is more optimal, I guess. Though that kept giving him some trouble. Yeah, pillar clipping GameCube version is pretty difficult, but over the many years of both of these two playing the game, they've gotten pretty good at it. So Kay's going to be doing it now. And we'll get to see the... I'm assuming he's going to do an early sync, so we'll save some time back on JD. So rather than swimming all the way and sinking straight down, he's actually going to sink early, and then kind of while he's sinking, using the iron boots to move forward in the water to get to where he needs by the pillar. Very clean pillar clip. Not even having to wait for Midna to float up. And again, making it with just barely enough air. Now, you guys can't see it, but on my end I can see Kejsmaster has a heart rate monitor, and his heart rate was pretty high just then. But that's kind of the last of the really big tricks. He spiked up to about 120 beats per minute, calming down a little bit now, which is sensible given that all the big tricks are kind of done. Now it's just smaller things, much harder to lose big chunks of time. So the run, while still difficult, is a little easier from here on. Yeah, you're right. JD still has to do rupee roll. So he's not quite out of the woods yet. Fighting Deku Toad now for early core shot. Well, to get the core shot. Not really early, as it's the lake bed that's early. with the Master Sword, possible to kill him in just one cycle. See if you can get it here with 10 hits. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, getting it pretty comfortably, as I would expect of both of these two. They're going to make it pretty hard for me to point out mistakes when one or the other is catching up. So we will be beating the Lakebird Temple. We need to, but we can't actually do it yet because without the Zora armor, we need something else to be able to refill our air, which is bombs. So instead we just get to Lakebird, get Claw Shot, and then leave with Uku. Because you can't use Uku in a mini boss room. And in this first room where the save warp puts you on JD's side, there's a bomb chest at the back, which they'll be using, as well as the water just here. So, pretty convenient routing. And the fact that he has Uku is going to be important as well. Kejsmaster hitting into Deku Toad as well now. I'm sure he's feeling a bit more comfortable knowing that, because I'm sure he's keeping track of JD's progress. He doesn't seem like the kind of person who would just do his run without paying any attention to his opponent, so I'm sure knowing that JD missed Gorge Void is going to calm him down a bit. But not a play to count out. And very easily gets that one cycle again. JD now going to be going for a slightly faster strategy to kill this Goblin right in the Kargarok. With Human and the Iron Boots. Interesting flying pattern. He's going to go into the water. Yeah, that worked fine. And the Goblin will die when it touches the water. So a slightly faster way to kill that Goblin. Riskier, but faster. There's a trick here as well. I'm unsure if he'll attempt it, given that it saves about 6 seconds and will lose a lot if he misses, but yeah, I think he is going to go for it, because knowing he has some lead to make up over Kejsmaster, going to be trying for all the hard strats, so got it there, clipping out of bounds. And since he's done it, I'm now expecting Kejsmaster to do it as well. Which, that's a thing I think we can expect to see. One player attempting something, and if they get it, or even if they get it or not, kind of forcing the other person to try it as well. Because if they get it, they obviously need to do it as well to try and stay even. And if they miss it, it's an opportunity for the other player to make back some time. KD getting the tech skip there. In the frame after skipping that cutscene, you can do a small jump attack, which gets you just out of the trigger where Midna will talk to you for a couple of seconds. Small things, small things. K's getting a pretty fast flight pattern, also luring the Boblin underwater, and I expect he'll go for the out of bounds as well. I know he had some trouble with it a few weeks ago, but he seems to have fixed up his method. Of course, because they're human, you're supposed to be in this flight as Wolf. He has to actually transform, otherwise the camera will be very messed up. Let's see if he gets it. Actually bonking the wall before attempting it, which caused him to go off course and fly straight into the ceiling. That's probably about 40 seconds, so That's pretty big for JD. I'm curious if he'll try it again, because another miss would mean a death, which is even slower, of course. Yep, going for it again. Yep, that time worked fine. So I think the first time he was just a bit far left, so his wing kind of clipped the wall, sending him off course. So again, that's about half of his lead cut away now. We'll know how they're stacking up when they get to the Elden Vessel, because by that point all the differences in the route have been done. Not 40, is it more like 30 or 20? Either way, big time save for JD over Kejs. So because of missing Gorge Void, JD actually has to do Fair and Escape 3 times, so this is the final time. And actually missing it. And going for the setup again rather than trying setup bliss, just to be extra safe. So again, this is also not as obvious, but it's pretty hard to set it up quickly after missing it, so again, some time back for Kejs. JD, sorry, yeah, so because of missing Gorge Void, JD will now be going back to Elden again and doing what Kejsmaster did quite a while ago now. Rupee roll and Gorge skip. Kejsmaster will have to be a little bit careful. I mean, not much of a stress, but these Shadow Beasts here do 1 heart when they hit you, so if he does get hit, he'll die. But, I mean, that's pretty unlikely. And because he already has been to Elden and gotten the portal, after killing these guys, he'll be warping straight to Elden. While JD is going the slow way. So taking up this yellow rupee, because you need the text from the rupee to get it. And while it's still out, catching it in the boomerang, putting on iron boots and taking them off just to show off. And it looks pretty fine. After the text rolling over, and he'll be doing what you saw Kejs do a bit ago. So now Elden Twilight, pretty cool segment in my opinion. Pretty difficult to do optimally. JD is probably not as good at it as Kejs. Yeah, so JD getting Gorge skip just fine, so he'll be heading to Elden now as well. Small thing there, having Master Sword allows them to transform and clip through that well, I guess, to access these bugs without having to do the whole like lantern lighting thing as Wolf. That's very unlucky. You saw there on JD's side, having to redo the Shadow Beast fight because the Minter Charge just dodged past one of those Shadow Beasts. That's a pain in the ass. So yeah, about a minute 40 lead for Kejs now. Imagining, given the mistakes, I mean, missing Gorge Void is 1 minute, so that is most of the lead, but given the mistakes JD's made, I'm sure Kejs is pretty comfortable now. Doesn't have to worry about going for too risky stuff, though I expect he still will. For example, there's a trick coming up in Elden called Bomb House Skip, which is possible as human and very easy. But you can save a few seconds if you do it as Wolf, which is much harder. And of course, both of them having gone to Lanayru before Elden and getting that portal immediately after clearing Elden Twilight. The reason to do this is so that the meteor that spawns by Death Mountain, you need that to start Lanayru Twilight. And so they've already gotten the portal in Zora's Domain, so that the moment they beat Elden Twilight, they can just go, warp to Death Mountain, and warp that meteor directly to Lanayru and start Lanayru Twilight instantly after. Okay, he's reading the warning sign. So now, watching Kejs's screen on the right, I'm assuming, yeah, going to be attempting a pretty precise setup to jump over this fence, dodging the trigger for one of these bugs and activating it from the side, getting it pretty cleanly. So you can kill it before it actually enters this house, and that is... So normally that bug would go into that house and then you kill it by burning the house as well as the other ones in there. But killing it before it goes in just makes the house disappear, which is quite nice. This is a race after all, so safety first. Bug being pretty nice to him. Yeah, he considered trying to get that blue rupee, but it'd be pretty hard to skip the text, as you see on JD's side. If you touch blue, yellow, red, etc. rupees while grounded, you get the little "you got a blue rupee" text. But if you actually side hop over or jump attack over and collect the rupee while in the air, you don't get the text. So while 5 rupees is tempting because there's more rupees and potential to skip red rupees later, getting the text is slow, so he decided not to. So JD now, having already gotten that blue rupee text from that rupee before, won't have to worry about dodging the text later on in Elden. You can just run straight into them. So now on JD's side, I imagine you'll see the human method of doing a bomb house skip. So he's running up to the top here, and rather than doing some precise jumps, he can just do a very easy boomerang long jump attack straight over. Killing that bug so quickly. Wow. Voiding out. Something that doesn't happen too often. Which actually puts you right back at that entrance area. I'm pretty sure a comparable speed too, so that's pretty funny. I've seen that crush void in that the ruins of that house before, but not quite in that same way. No AX, it didn't. Well, at least in JD's case, maybe he ran too close to the trigger. Not the cleanest ending to Elden. but still a pretty solid segment. K's. And so now, as mentioned before, going to be warping straight up to Death Mountain and then starting the narrow Twilight, which is a bit of a slog, if I'm going to be honest. Just while I have some time, since there's not a whole lot of fast-paced stuff happening. I've noticed actually Kejsmaster transforming human, being a bit mean to that Goron. Well, I can't do anything about that. Restreamer maybe. Kez is in the lead, so maybe it would be more sensible to have the source sound from him. It doesn't make too much of a difference. So Shadowbee's kind of ignoring JD. Yeah, so that's why he transformed human and did get it. If you do so, you can... There's a one-frame side hop you can do to skip some text, saves a few seconds. And then he swam under the bridge there on purpose because above it is a trigger for a cutscene. He'll have to dodge twice, so it doesn't save a huge amount of time. But any time save is time save. Another reason to have iron boots and the master sword saving time. So while the route was different for a little bit, because of JD missing Gorge Void, everything from now will be identical. So very easy to visibly see how far ahead people are. So Kejsmaster already starting the narrow Twilight. JD just getting the Meteor now. But while we're here, there's not a huge amount of interesting stuff happening. I'm just going to talk about the bracket, which I'll just drop in chat again for anyone who doesn't already have it. This is a winners quarterfinals match. The winner of this will go on to face Ace, who actually didn't do too hot in his last race, barely edging it out over Bruggles, who was commentating with me just before and will be back later. But Ace, a very good player, former world record holder, currently second on the leaderboard with a 254. Excuse me, 254, speaking too fast. While he hasn't been so active recently, and Kaze has been very active, he's still playing at a very high level, so will be a pretty big challenge for whoever goes on to face him. And then the loser of this will likely face Bruggles as well, so they'll face the winner of Barchan and Adrianki in losers, and then after that they'll be waiting for the winner of Bruggles and his opponent, which, given the seeding so far, Bruggles is pretty set up to take that. So Kejsmaster as well, actually going for a side hop, missing it out of that waterfall, with getting the side hop but too early. So back up here to close it up these vines, that same spot. So things like that, an opportunity for JD to save some time. Could even so that early side hop that Kate's got loses about 10 seconds over what he was trying to do, which is difficult, of course. JD, if he wants to, could save some time back without even trying a difficult strategy. I mean, just play it safe, but I don't know if he's keeping track of Kejsmaster's progress. Better be not being kind to him today. Here we go. Lower rupees from that grass. Kejsmaster doing pretty fine on rupees. I mean, 39, decent amount. Hey, basically you want 40, so. Good, given that there's another patch of grass and boxes up here. Just after killing this bug. Yeah, there it is. So now, and you're actually getting that blue rupee. It's pretty rare, that one, the grass blue. And skipping the text. He's pretty well. He's pretty rich now, actually. Any more now is kind of excess, unless he can get another 15, which, while unlikely, is possible. JD going for the side hop, getting it, so saving 10 seconds over K's just now. But yeah, so if K's can get another 15, he'll be able to skip one of the red rupees and arbiters, which I'm not sure. There's not many places to get rupees anymore, so, or small ones, I should say. JD getting the double on those lily pad bugs, very nice. The collection wasn't the cleanest. Killing both of those lily pad bugs in one hit is very satisfying. So JD now on 40 rupees as well. Pretty well set up. Kejsmaster is ahead by, I want to say, about 1 minute and 30 seconds. Future's not bad, AX. So AX says that because I'm in a time zone where it is currently the 22nd of February. Midday, basically. So I'm going to be having some lunch soon, actually. But more important than that, Kay is now doing the cargo rock flight bugs. He's actually not going to complete this flight because, yeah, of course now it's past midnight, so very early on the 22nd for K's. I think still the 21st for JD. But after killing this last bug and collecting the tear, that's quite important as well. The tear takes some time to go into the vessel. You're going to bonk on purpose and say no to retrying, because where it puts you after you say no is right by the last bug. Pretty convenient. JD manipulating that bug in Hyrule Castle.
I'm back. Hi.
So you can't actually kill it until it's gone down to the bottom and stopped moving. And now Kay's heading off to the boss bug, which is actually pretty difficult to do optimally. He's standing in this corner here. Oh, I can't actually hear, sorry. Hey Bruggles.
Hi. I'm back.
I didn't have my headphones on, so I couldn't actually hear if anyone was there. I just saw
No,
AX
that's
say.
fine.
But so Kay's going to try and interrupt the bug. He gets it there as he charges, and then jump attack him before he goes all the way back up. Saves a few seconds each time. Getting both of them. Yeah, Twilight Princess is pretty long, so memorizing the entire route is pretty difficult. Personally, because I've been doing some GameCube recently, and normally I play the Wii version, when I've been doing GameCube runs, I've had the route open on my computer so I can just check to make sure I'm going
Yeah,
the
which
right
is
way
like
every time.
totally fine. Like, it definitely is a long run. I'm sure, like, you know, people that run like 100%, for example, probably have some notes to just make sure they remember everything.
Yeah, and small things as well. Like, I know people might have difficulty remembering the songs that you have to howl at some of the stones.
Yeah.
I know I did when I started, so I actually like had some visual aids handy just to check on my phone which song I had to howl at each one. Now that Kaze has finished Linear Twilight and JD's about to, that Uku from Lakebeard is going to come in, because now they're going to head off and get some bombs.
Yeah, so because they're skipping the Zora armor, they're gonna need to get bombs instead. That's sort of like pretty much like the big difference between the two routes. Is just, you know, either Zora armor or bombs, whichever one you want to get.
Yeah, so first, he's going to come over here and help out Isa. Well, say that he'll help out. But before that, actually, because you need the ending blow, he's going to go and howl at the stone just to get the golden wolf to spawn, basically. Normally, you'd get the ending blow from the wolf that's just standing outside of Forest Temple, but because we never beat Fair and Twilight, it's not there. So, howling at this stone to get the wolf to spawn. And the golden wolves will give you the hidden skills in order, no matter what. So, it doesn't matter which stone he howls at and which wolf he goes to, he'll always get ending blow first, which you need to beat Ganondorf. So, Kay is having almost exactly a 2-minute lead currently, which will be pretty difficult for JD to make up, I think, but he can definitely do it. I mean, not that I would ever expect players of this caliber to die to Morpheal or something.
Yeah,
Stuff
I
like
was
that
just gonna
can
say
happen.
it could happen.
Yeah, it's possible.
It probably won't, but this race definitely isn't over yet.
I mean, if either of them does something stupid, like like JD actually did in one of his other races, going for one bomb Morpheal, then we could definitely see them drowning.
Yeah.
So Isa now going to invite him inside and ask him if he can help out with these rocks. He says yes, gets the bombs, and just leaves with Uku after bombing her hut. So, in a bomb bag, you can only have one kind of bomb at once. And to do the air refill glitch, which you need to beat Morpheus without Zora armor, you need water bombs. So he's going to be dunking these bombs in water so that they despawn really quickly, so you can empty them all. I mean, from just back here, getting some water bombs. But these aren't the water bombs he's using to kill Morpheus, because the bomb bag he has right now is not permanent, is a lent bomb bag. I mean, it's a stolen bomb bag. So if he dies, beats the dungeon, or save warps, almost similar to in A Link Between Worlds, how, I forget his name, but he comes and takes back the items from you when you die. This is a glitch, this is not supposed to happen.
I think it's Ravio, that's his name. Yeah.
So if he dies, save warps, or beats the dungeon, the bomb bag that he has right now is going to go away.
Yeah, and
So
he actually will be
he has it,
save warping at the end of Snow Peak, so... But yeah, while he has it...
he's got water bombs in it now, and he's going to use it while he has the chance to go and get a permanent bomb bag, which is just down here.
Yeah, and we're also going to see the part of the text time save from using German here. So I don't know if you mentioned it before, but there's... so the text box here for getting the Goron bomb bag, in any other version except German, you have to actually sit through the text, but as we'll see here in a moment, in the German version, it just kind of, you can just kind of skip through it like normal text boxes. So
and
that saves...
a bit quick, you might not have even noticed it, because Bruggles was already talking about the bomb bag thing, but immediately after as well, he does part of the air refill glitch, kind of. He swims with the water bombs and drops the bomb immediately, which just rockets him right to the surface, saving a little bit of time. JD will be doing the same thing now as well. It is actually possible to avoid doing this whole thing JD's doing now with emptying these bombs and getting water bombs by doing a very, very precise trick, which you have one try for, to actually get a normal bomb underwater, which is possible. It is frame perfect. And using a cutscene so that it sinks lower. But that is not something you will ever do in a race.
Yeah, it only saves 15 seconds and basically kills your run if you fail it. And also, Kejsmaster just did a glitch called Map Glitch. So if you remember at the start of the run, we completely skipped all of, basically all of Ordon. So we never got the fishing rod, which is normally what you need to get through Snow Peak. But what we can do instead is we can open the map and call Midna on the same frame and then try to warp away. And that's going to interrupt the warp. And the first thing that happens when you warp away is it removes all of the loading zones. But if you cancel the warp, it just removes all the loading zones and you don't warp away. So basically we can remove the void out triggers. And then coming up in a little bit, he will have to howl at the stone up here, because if he were to try to dig to the next area, the game would just soft lock because there's no loading zone there.
I think a slightly more correct explanation, obviously the essence of everything you said is exactly right, but I think the loading zones are still there, it's just you can't actually interact with them. I think.
Actually, yeah, I think you're right. It doesn't really remove them, it just deactivates them.
And to answer what Delighted asked, that is not the only difference between the languages. Just in literally every text box that's a slow text box, if there's a different number of characters, then that text box on one language might be a couple frames faster or slower. And there's some cases where I know on double claw shots is one of the bigger differences, and lantern as well. on the lantern text, English only has like 2 text boxes to go through, while German has German has 2, English has 3, and then on double claw shots, German has 4, I think. But yeah, that is the biggest text difference, is the bomb bag being able to skip through it. And yeah, Japanese language would be the fastest for this run if it could do map glitch, but it cannot.
And so what Kejsmaster just did, if you were watching, you saw that he did a boomerang LJ into the void, and then just spawned right in the cutscene trigger for talking to Yeto. And that's just because when you LJ into the void, you go far enough that the game thinks that you're supposed to respawn up on the hill instead of at the door.
Funny thing too, on JD's side, he turned his sensors on. And when you don't have the scent, which he doesn't have, you actually can't turn them back off. So he's forced to climb the mountain with sensors on the entire way, which is funny.
And also, just another quick thing about text differences. I believe German is slower for like the majority, but then there are just a couple that it's, for whatever reason, it's so much faster on, it just makes up all the time and more. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's still faster by a couple seconds than English, even without the fast score on bag. But yeah, it's definitely more of a, like, it's got a few advantages where there's a whole text box less, rather than like lots of tiny cumulative differences. Like I know in 100%, English is fastest because German has slower golden bug text, something like that.
Weird bonk.
And that movement there is actually just to go completely around and then to trigger, where she'll try and talk to you.
Yep. Alright, so now we have Snow Peak, and right off the bat, you already see some differences from casual. Going off to the left here, we can just do a boomerang LJ over this gap here, and then claw shot right through the floor.
And that's actually possible because that floor in particular doesn't have collision on the underside, because you're supposed to come to that area from above, and that floor is actually bombable or breakable with a ball and chain to get down to that heart piece, so that's why.
Yes, we can also just do some LJs across there to get the small key, which will be important to open up a certain door.
And then, as before, for that last bomb bag, they both just emptied every single bomb in that bit of water at the start of lake bed. For this bomb bag, they still need to empty it out and get water bombs, but because there's a longer period of time before they get the next water bombs, they can actually just kind of drop lots of them on the way. So things like dropping a bomb before opening a door, and then dropping a bomb rolling away from it. Like just there, dropping a bomb, then transforming. Just ditching as many bombs as you can, gradually.
Yeah, which definitely saves some time over doing them all at once. Especially if you're very practiced in it, just because you can really just save the time by doing it as you go along instead of all at once.
Though it's important he doesn't empty all of them, because
you
still need at least one to get access to the next bombs. And actually using a bomb there as well, just to do some extra damage to Dark Hammer, sorry. Not the cleanest segment here for K's. One of the LJAs badly denied him. So, opportunity for JD to make back a little bit of time. Again, from here on, I while Moorfield could be a big decider, I'm expecting the time differences to come from very small things the whole way.
Yeah.
Like just their side hopping over that text to skip it. That rupee to skip the text, sorry.
JD's actually been keeping up quite nicely, if I'm being honest. Still only about 2 minutes behind, which is pretty good. So yeah, Kejsmaster is just getting the orange rupees in Snow Peak because we need to have 300 by the end of Arbiters, because you need to pay fire to get to City in the Sky.
Yeah, and both of them, I said earlier, pretty healthy on rupees, so they shouldn't need to get any more stray rupees. Could even, if they find any extra, skip one of the red rupees in Arbiters. And note now, after that save warp after Ball and Chain, the first bomb bag is now gone, so these bombs are his only ones currently. And we're emptying this last one, because it's quite important actually. Bomb chests give you the type of bomb that you have in your bag. Aside from a few strange cases with
Yeah, I was just gonna
glitches that
say.
we've got. But
in-
generally, in normal play, bomb chests will adapt to the bombs that you have in your bomb bag. So it's very important to empty all of the bombs before you open the water bomb chest. Otherwise, you will not get any water bombs, and that is, well, pretty bad. I've seen top runners miss one bomb and then open the chest and get normal bombs and then not realize for a little bit and then just kind of go, oh, well, that's the run dead.
Yeah, there's like a chest in Arbiters, I believe. One in particular that just gives you normal bombs no matter what. So
Yeah, that's something that
if
happens
you don't
with
have them,
having gotten the stolen bomb bag.
yeah.
So with barely enough air, Kay is going to sink down to more fuel. And using those 10 bombs he has, though he should only need 2, maybe 3.
Or one if he's lucky.
That's not happening. If he gets good luck, if he tries for it, I'll be very angry at him.
Never say never.
So actually, the way that they swim with water bombs, you're not supposed to be able to, is they pull a bomb and as it's coming out, they force unequipped iron boots so they can kind of float with it. And that's what he does here. He's going to be floating up during this cut. Kind of see him in the second part of the cutscene. Just there, floating upwards, which gives him an easier time getting this first grab, because you need to grab more fuel 3 times and do 3 sets of attacks. He could go for 1 bomb. This is pretty good air, but
No, I don't think it's enough. He
It
needs
is if he gets
two
good grabs.
really fast regrabs.
Yeah, but not
But no.
yet. Because
Not
he's
going
wise.
for 1 bomb.
And it's quite important as well that he puts iron boots on before grabbing, because normally Morphle will just shake you off, but the time that takes will just cause him to drown, so he has to drop off with iron boots, taking them off.
This will
And
be
here-
kind of close, actually.
No, he's fine. Yeah, there he is. So, actually re-grabbing
Yeah.
instantly, and that's Morphle done. So,
Yeah,
definitely
pretty good
making it
fight,
tough.
actually. Delighted. You need to be on the ground to start swimming with water bombs. Yes, because you need to have iron boots on to be able to take them out and then force and equip them. But you don't need to be on the ground to refill. You just need to.
Yeah, so
Drop
the
the
air
bomb.
refill happens when you drop the bomb.
Yeah.
So you can swim around with it for ages, and actually, on purpose there, he holds onto it for as long as he can, just so that he gets the most air out of the bomb that he can. So like his air's going down, and then just as he's at the lowest air and the bomb's about to explode, he drops it, which refills his air meter all the way.
Yep.
Ah, JD actually getting kind of screwed over there by the eye, going into Morpheal too quickly. So this is not going to be an easy Morpheal fight for him now.
I think it'll be fine. It's usually not that bad. It's just a little bit more difficult. You just kind of have to predict
you're also
Morpheal.
much more susceptible to being trolled by Morpheal swimming too high,
Yeah.
starting from the ground like this. So you can ditch that bomb, pull another one. Yeah, this looks fine. Unless Morpheal says no.
Ugh.
Nah. Okay, so Morpheal's going to be making it difficult.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate. It can only be a 4 bomb at best.
And note, she's just ignoring him. That's not cool. And it seems like he's going to be... Yeah, he knows that he can't get that.
Yeah,
And
just
the
playing it
difficulty with
safe.
this as well, you want to keep bombs for later in the run because you use them to fight some enemies later. So having used so many bombs already is going to lose him some time a bit later on.
He
But
can
luckily
either
he did get that first grab, so he should be sweet now.
he can either replace some strats with ball and chain, or he can get water bombs in city. So there's a water bomb chest right at the start of the dungeon. I believe it only loses 15 seconds or so to get.
If he goes for this, he might drown. You can grab immediately after being sucked in. Okay, so this is going to be pretty risky. Oh no, actually it seems kind of fine. Has to be a fast
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, sweet as. Oh, that was close. So
He's
JD
fine.
getting through.
Oh gosh, that was really close.
Player MC, if you're saying that in reference to the TAS, I don't know, something to do with like, it literally saves 1 frame to do that. Something about like releasing X and Y and pressing them, like you get to press them 1 frame earlier. But in RTA, no one really bothers with that. They will only really just equip the items they need. If you notice that JD or K's has done that, it's probably an accident. Yeah, it is faster to equip the top item first and then the items you need. In a task context. In RTA, it's going to be negligible. Just one moment.
So now we have Midna's Desperate Hour. Pretty standard. Nothing really too special about it. Yeah. So JD, unfortunately, getting trolled by Morpheal, falling a little bit further behind, but I still don't want to say it's over yet. There are definitely some things that could still go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty large lead, but JD is very capable. And I mean, this has been a pretty good run for K's so far as well. 125 lake bed is more than enough for a sub 3 time, so...
Yeah, for sure. So that Bulblin there, ooh, that's a little unfortunate. But that Bulblin there, you pretty much have to kill it. I don't know if it's possible to make it up without killing it, but as far as I know, it's not. And either way, even if it was, it's very, very difficult. I mean, he just shoots at you and always knocks you down, so, yeah. You just have to start by killing him.
Yeah, and just to kill him a bit faster, then try and knock him off the edge so he lands in the water,
Mm-hmm.
which will kill him instantly. Doing some jumps here to skip over these ropes, and jump to these Bulblins as well. Just spending as little
Some
time on the
small time
ropes as
savers.
possible.
Yeah.
And that Bulblin there actually has better aim in the HD version for some reason. So on the SD version, you can just run past, no trouble. Which hopefully, if he gets good movement here, there's a wind cycle he's going to be trying to make. Jumping on this
Yeah.
bridge at like
Looks
the
like
last
he'll
possible second.
definitely be able to make it.
Getting trolled
Ooh.
a little bit.
Yeah. Unfortunate. I don't know if
That bridge is not kind, so that was just... I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that was like unlucky or he was just a little late.
Definitely wasn't late.
Right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So probably just unlucky.
Probably just a combination of luck and maybe being on a bad part of the bridge. Getting some hearts actually, just to be safe.
Yeah, so unfortunately not the cleanest Minna's Desperate Hour, but that's fine.
And now conveniently placed right outside Hyrule Castle, where this Golden Wolf is to get ending blow.
Yeah, so like was mentioned before, you actually have to get the ending blow. There's no way around it. You'll get to the final boss fight, and you can knock down Ganondorf, and he'll just be lying there, and the A button will say finish at the bottom of the screen, and you can press it all you want, and nothing will happen.
So JD, if he can do this Desperate Hour cleanly, should be able to save actually like 30 seconds back. If he can get the fast wind cycle, that is.
Yep.
Well, you say soft lock. It is possible, after not getting JD actually missing one of those jumps. Not a massive time loss, but obviously not ideal. It is possible to go off and get ending blow, like after dying in the fight, but obviously that is very slow.
How would you die? You'd have to damage down with like bombs or something.
Oh, Gandalf, he stands back up eventually.
Oh, he does. Oh, I've never failed the final blow, so I wouldn't know.
I think you can save warp as well. I don't know, not that I looked too far into what to do in that situation, especially since the routes that I do, it's pretty impossible to avoid ending blow. So JD not going to save as much time as probably would have hoped, but he played it safe with that wind cycle, so should still gain a little bit back.
Yeah, maybe like 10, 15 seconds.
And actually trying to claw shot to these vines. Saving time there, actually. every time you grab a ledge or vines like that from a claw shot, there's a random chance that you'll grab it with one hand or two, and grabbing it with two is about a second faster than grabbing it with one hand. And in that case there actually, normally most people will just run up to it as Wolf and then climb it. But if you claw shot, you can aim from far away. And if you get lucky and grab with two hands, it is faster.
I used to claw shot it a lot, but I eventually just stopped because I felt like I was always really slow with it, so...
Yeah, you have to aim pretty fast as well.
Yeah.
Now entering the Gerudo Desert. Which is a very large and very laggy area, so immediately you see him pan the camera downwards, just to literally
Reduce
try and
lag.
reduce some lag.
Yeah. Not actually sure how much time it saves. I know in like some other areas it saves like a couple frames, but in here I can't imagine it doesn't save like seconds. Honestly,
yeah, I'm pretty
it's
sure
just,
it's a few seconds, maybe even up to 5. It's
just
the thing with it as well.
so
it's-
laggy.
All you have to do is press C-stick down. So
Yeah,
it's
so there's
very-
really no reason
yeah.
not to.
easy time save, especially because you can look on the mini map in the bottom left to see where to go. Regularly, in a normal gameplay, you'd have to use the boars here and ride it through those barriers. It's possible to just clip past or super jump over those barriers completely, but that's pretty luck dependent and precise. But having the ball and chain already, you can actually use the ball and chain on these towers, not on the walls, but that's fine because this second one is pretty easy to just clip past. Like so. Now doing map glitch again. This one is not necessary, just saves a handful of seconds, 10 to 15, maybe more, over going through
Honestly.
and getting the key. You can actually just come up here, and with map glitch active and a boomerang long jump attack up here, you can jump out of bounds and go under the tent, but the trigger to start the fight goes infinitely upwards and downwards, so you can activate it just fine. Of course, if he dies here, he has map glitch active, so I mean, he's in no danger. If he did die, which would only take one hit, because King Bulblin does 3 hearts of damage and he only has 3 hearts.
I think he actually does 4? Or is that in a
Maybe
different
you're
fight?
right.
But
But either
regardless.
way, it'd be a 1-hit kill.
Yeah.
And with map glitch active, he would not be able to continue on the title screen, so he'd be set back to his earliest save, which was back in Snow Peak.
I believe it's 4 because I'm pretty sure even if you get Lake Bed Heart Piece, he would still kill you in 1 hit. So.
But now on the way to enter the Arbiter's Grounds, which pretty difficult dungeon to do well. One that Kejsmaster has practiced a whole lot. I don't know about JD, but Kejsmaster goes for all the riskiest strats for sure. So, I mean, there's opportunities for him to try dumb stuff and fail, and allow JD to make back some time.
I think I know exactly what strat you're talking about. And I honestly, I hope that we do see it. That would be very cool, but I'm not totally sure he's going to go for it. Maybe he will, though.
I think it would. I'm not actually 100% sure. But that cutscene of beating King Bulblin disables map glitch, reloads the area, I guess, kind of when you load into the room after it. Yeah, it's pretty fortunate.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that just like somehow happen to work out. Like also in Snow Peak, right? If there wasn't the what's it called? Howling
Howling
Stone
Stone.
at the top, then we couldn't do map glitch there either. It just
Mm.
we'd have to, and then we'd have to get the fishing rod, and it's just really fortunate that things like that work out.
Also here, you can see there's these 4 pose. It's normally difficult all 4 to open that gate, but because they try and make it so you have to get the first one before you can actually go anywhere, because you need the scent from it to dig up a chain later on. But with a precise jump here, you can actually just ignore it and gain access to some other parts of the dungeon from behind. So rolling up this pillar, you can grab this ledge.
Kejsmaster actually not using a bomb at all on the Moldorms, which is, I don't know. I don't want to say risky, but like just kind of, I don't know.
It's
Not normally
blasé
what people
about it.
do.
Yeah, normally, given the spare bombs, you can just throw one to one side, and all the Moldorms are kind of attracted to it, which distracts them from you for a little bit, so they won't try to attack you for a second or two.
Yeah, and it also, I guess, usually it'll kill one of them, if not both of them. Which is just good, because when you're trying to do post skip, most of the time after the LJ, you want to target, and having the Moldorms there really just kind of messes with that. There are some ways to get around it, like you can like press a direction on the control stick, but usually you're not going to get a consistent angle behind Link, so
So this Poe that Case is doing now, he did some interesting movement there, kind of jump attack towards the Poe. That wasn't just meaningless. There's some luck involved with these Poes, the amount of times they spin, but also how long it takes them to start spinning. And you can kind of manipulate by where you stand in the room, how quickly they start spinning. Yeah, so JD did make up a little bit more of time, just under 3 minutes behind now. I do expect that Kays will go for Death Lord Skip though, so let's hope we get to see that.
Arbiters in a speedrun it's kind of interesting all around. You basically do like the entire dungeon backwards. You do the first half backwards by getting the 4th Poe first, and just going through all the rooms in such a weird order. And then even in the second half as well, we go through the dungeon backwards, just because it's faster, skips a lot of rooms. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
JD actually, because he used so many bombs, not using a bomb, but instead claw-shotting one of the Moldorms to kill it, and actually not getting the roll there, is he really going to try and do the old put? Okay, no.
Unfortunate. Losing a little bit of time here, but fortunately not that much. This method of post skip, shoutouts to Mr. Men, is quite a bit faster than the old method. and saves more time and is faster to retry as well. So while this isn't ideal, it's definitely not the worst thing.
And yeah, it seems like JD just to save on bombs, because you do need, of course, bombs later on will save some time, but 2 of them are required. You need 2 bombs for the lakebed phase of the Zant boss fight. Kay's actually trying to do,
Oh,
yeah, get hit by the rat there
so good.
off the tanning pillar, I guess you could call it. Something he's only recently implemented, I think.
Yeah, I usually just kill the rat.
Yeah, normally it's more sensible to just kill it, but if you manipulate it in a certain way, it's possible to get it such that it hits you after you've started pushing, and the pillar keeps moving, even though you're not pushing it anymore. So you can JD messing up the RNG manipulation a little, but it allows you to just run to the door while it's still opening. But as I mentioned earlier, you do need the poscent to dig up a chain, which Case has already done. So from this po on JD's side, that's where you get the scent from. And Kay's going to get his last rupees now. And now he's sitting very comfortably with a full wallet. Doesn't need to worry about rupees anymore.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
And after
Definitely
closing
don't
these
wanna-
boxes, yeah, there it is. There's a 1 frame window to just dash or jump attack after the po text boxes. So using that to just move a little bit through the room during that cutscene. And so for K's, I'm pretty sure that is now, yeah, so that's all 3 posts.
Yep.
Well, there's 4 of them, but he skipped one. And
Yeah, skip the
moving
first
on
one.
to the second half. Second half where immediately, as Bruggle said earlier, you go through the dungeon backwards.
So yeah, we can actually just do some simple Wolf B attacks around that pillar and just get to the boss key early, which, saves going through a ton of rooms. And is also quite a bit faster for getting to the mini-boss Death Sword.
You said this whole area you're supposed to be coming through the other direction after you've already got the spinner, which is why you can see all these spinner tracks all around. But coming through here backwards.
Yeah, I think either the chest, one of those 2 chests there is the bomb chest that just gives you regular bombs no matter what.
Yeah. And so for these, God, I'm forgetting what they're called on the spot.
Stalfos.
There we go, Stalfos. Just putting bombs behind him and then rolling away. And when the bombs explode, the Stalfos are right by them, so they die while he's already by the gate. And he can claw shot up past this area.
Yeah, I wonder if JD is going to do the ball and chain strat for there, or just, like I said before, maybe opt to get the water bombs in city.
I imagine he'll try and do the ball and chain strat. Kay's now in the Death Sword fight. which I'm expecting he'll try for the fastest method to beat him. So normally, probably what we're going to see JD do is you can use the ball and chain to do some extra damage and then one cycle him. But with a very precise setup and mid jump, going in this
he's
corner,
going for it.
Deathlord comes up behind you, positioning him like that. You roll out of the way, transform him into Wolf, and with a mid charge similar to early Master Sword earlier, when he's at a very specific point, that should work. No, that was a late actually. My bad. You can use that jump to go clean over that
Go for
gate.
it. 7 times.
Yeah, it seems like he'll just keep going for it. He actually goes for a riskier, I guess, but faster method. Not even bothering to slash Deathlord with his sword, which gives him very little time to position. Missing again, he wasn't quite positioned in time for that.
Man, he really wants it.
Yeah. So this skip saves about 15 seconds over the normal fight. So he is now losing time over if he'd just done the fight normally. There it is.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful skip. And yeah, losing quite a bit of time, but I think that was pretty cool. So I think it was worth it. Yeah.
That will give JD an opportunity to make back about 30 seconds, but given that the lead is about 2.5 minutes at this point, maybe more, not quite enough for him to bring it back to even. JD actually trying for the quick climb, going to the bosky and voiding out, which kills him.
That's a pretty
Not what you
unfortunate
want to
time
see.
loss. I've always known
that is the risk
can
of that
happen.
quick climb.
Yeah, I've always known that could happen, but it's never happened to me. But I was always just so afraid of it that I stopped going for the quick climb.
So I don't imagine he'll try the quick climb again. Yeah, just playing it safe. Now, I know JD is also someone who has done Deathlord skip and runs before, though I think he stopped trying it recently, just because he didn't quite feel consistent enough at it.
Yeah, unfortunately, dying, I would say, loses about 30 seconds, so...
yeah, at best he can
JD
probably
not
break
able to-
even now.
Yeah.
K's now, so after getting the spinner, you just save warp to leave. You don't even have to bother. The reason you can skip Deathlord at all is because you don't actually have to leave that room normally. And then going through with the spinner, he's going to be heading off to... Oh no, he is using bombs. JD using bombs for these stuff. So maybe, as you say, maybe he's just going to do the Hyrule Castle strats slower, or get the water bombs and...
There's no way. The Hyrule Castle strats with ball and chain, I believe they're... I'm not sure. If it loses less than 15 seconds, then I guess he won't do it, but... I as far as I know, the bomb bag chest only loses 15 seconds, so...
So JD now probably going to be doing the regular fight, while Kejsmaster heads into Stalwart. Apparently wants us to look at it, so maybe it's going to be impressive. Oh, just dodges through that wall. Alright, I think I know what's going to be coming up. Oh no! JD getting the Ascending Death Sword! Yeah, very fast last hit for it. So JD, the fastest way that he can recover this is to kill himself, but he doesn't even have enough bombs, I don't think. If he
I
transforms
think...
Wolf for each hit, he can kill himself.
I'm not actually sure what the backup is for this. I've never had him come back, so...
I mean, just then, Deathlord tried to throw some orbs at him, but it seems, yeah.
I mean, you know,
JD, yeah. So you can save warp, which I think he's going to do that. Because he didn't hear our comment. That is
casually,
very, very unlucky.
It can happen casually, but it probably won't, because normally you wouldn't spin attack to stop him from going around the room early. But yeah, that's really unfortunate. I don't know.
That's a huge time loss. That's
I don't know if
basically
there
the
is a
race done,
backup.
if I'm honest.
I don't know if there is a backup. I waited a very long time for the sword to come back down, but it's never happened. So I probably, if I was doing a run, probably would have just reset the timer at that point. But I guess this is a race, so
yeah,
can't quite do that.
So JD taking a while to think about what to do, and I mean he was in a pretty tough spot because normally what you do, I think the best way to save it is just to kill yourself with the bombs that you have. But he had so few bombs because of Morpheal that maybe he couldn't have even done that. So save walking instead and having to head back all the way through to get to Deathsword again.
He might have been able to get hit by Death Sword throwing the orbs, but I'm not actually sure
He'd have
how
to
long
wait
that would
around
have taken.
so long for that. So
Yeah.
that's, well, just really unlucky basically. K is now with a 157 arbiters, on pace
Yes.
for a sub 3 time.
Yeah, so
actually the best arbiters time, split I should say, from spinner to beating arbiters that he's ever done, because of that last hit to Stalwart was so quick.
yeah.
But yeah.
So if you were watching Case, then you would have seen at the start of the second phase, he just did some rolls and then got on the spinner and knocked down Stallard before before Stallard could like start going up all the way to the top, which saves about 25 seconds, 30 seconds, and is definitely pretty cool. And then we can just do quick spins and one cycle Stallard. And if you don't one cycle Stallard, it's actually really, really bad, because when you try to go up to the top to hit him, there will be a bunch of blade traps, and you'll have to go back and forth, and it's just bad, and you just don't want that to happen.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the outcome of this race, it's pretty set now. There's not a lot JD can do to make back a deficit this large. I'm sure he'll still finish out the run, but also this is kind of where I have to leave you to your own struggles.
Oh, unfortunate. Well,
so
I guess I'll see you later, Simikins. Thanks so much for commentating for most of the first half. Much appreciated. And I guess have a good rest of your day, night, whatever time it is for you in New Zealand.
And good luck to JD and K's. I know JD, very unfortunate situation, but hopefully he can at least finish it out strong.
Yeah.
So, catch you all later.
All right. So, as you might have seen what Kejsmaster did, so we can actually clip into the owl statue that normally blocks you from getting to the cannon. And that's probably one of the biggest sequence breaks in Twilight Princess. It saves time from beating Snow Peak. We don't have to beat Snow Peak. We don't have to beat Temple of Time. We don't have to do the entire quest to, energize the Dominion Rod. It's just so much faster. And it's really, really nice that we have that. And then we can open up the map. And normally if you just try to talk to Midna to warp, she'll tell you like, oh, Shad is watching, but Shad isn't there. But by opening the map and zooming in all the way and then turning it on the warps, and it's really weird. It only so in the mirror chamber, actually, sort of similar thing happens. If you try to warp away mid, it'll just tell you like, "Oh, the mirror of Twilight. We're so close." But if you zoom in all the way and then click Z to like make the warps appear, then she'll just let you warp for whatever reason. And so we just do the same thing to warp the cannon away. And then we pay fire 300 rupees and go to City in the Sky. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are a lot of things that go into making sub 3 possible, but if that wasn't a thing, then we probably could not get sub 3. I'm not sure how long it takes to beat Snow Peak and Temple of Time. Well, actually, I guess it doesn't really matter because you'd also have to do the quest. So yeah, I don't think sub 3 would be possible. That'd be like an extra hour. What am I even saying? That's there's even beating Snow Peak would probably just take up too much time. Yeah, probably like sub 4 would be a really good run. So right here at the beginning of City, we're gonna see some LJAs instead of using Uku. It's just faster. And then here, there's so right here is a glitch called I believe it's like fan skip. Not sure exactly the name, but basically at the top of this room, there's a fan, and by transforming and opening that door as far away from it as possible, we can actually skip the trigger for the fan starting, which is going to be important later because it's going to let us get to the boss key early, which is going to save quite a bit of time. It saves probably about 2 minutes or so, 2.5 minutes, because there are just a bunch of other rooms that you'd have to go through. So here Case is getting the small key, and this is going to set his spawn point right there, right next to the chest. And normally, JD, unfortunately missing the quick knockdown for Stallard. But so Case is now going to skip a cutscene here, and normally if you trigger this cutscene, it would put your spawn point back at the start of the dungeon, because they don't want you to save warp and skip the cutscene, so that's why it puts your spawn point back at the key. But because we never trigger the cutscene, it's never going to put the spawn point back, and yeah. So when we save warp later after getting the double claw shots, he's just going to be put back at the key, which is actually a little bit faster even, not only because we skipped the cutscene, but it's just faster to get back to the central room from there instead of from the start. And you also may have noticed that Case was getting off the spinner just a little bit early for those bridges. which just saves a little bit of time. And there, finally, we have JD finishing up Arbiters. So it seems like usually a good run finishes about an hour after Arbiters. So JD can still definitely get a pretty decent time. But unless something goes very wrong for Case, I don't think we're going to see a comeback, but you never know. Unfortunately, Case messing up a little bit there, but bringing it back quickly. So yeah, there we can just spin attack the Dinalfos and just kill them really quickly. So JD is about to do the skip past the owl statue again, like Case. And right here, what Case is going to do is just a little bit of a skip called Uku skip, or Uku jump, where we can just use Uku to get to that ledge instead of doing the puzzle in that room, which takes quite a bit of time. Usually if you fail it, the puzzle just takes so long that you're better off just using Uku to go back over the ledge and try Uku jump again. And now coming up is going to be Erolphos. So Case is actually going to do a skip. He's going to skip the fight entirely. Ooh, unfortunate. Case tried to go for a one-frame drop-off. Fortunately, going a little bit early, but it's possible to drop off at the same frame that cutscene of the fan stopping starts, just a little bit faster. But now he's going to do a bit of a setup here, and hopefully get it for... there's, I believe, 3 pixels. The yellow sort of flickering there. Unfortunately, not getting it first try. Oh, I guess he's gonna just yellow the setup. But yeah, there's about 3 pixels that work. So it's a very, very, very precise trick. And yeah, I guess 1 or 2 pixels. I had always heard it was 1, or I had always thought that it was 1, but then I had heard that it was 3 at some point. Not sure, but yeah, there we go. Case getting the Erolfo skip right there. Very, very nice. Definitely very difficult and not uncommon to miss the trick once or twice. 3 with, maybe? Yeah, that would make more sense. So, after you open the locked door with the key that you get from that room, the cutscene trigger just is gone. So Case is not gonna have to do the cutscene skip again. He can just roll right past. And it looks like JD is opting to not get the bomb chest. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what he does in Hyrule. But what Case is doing right now is going to get the boss key. So as I said earlier, it stops the fan from spinning, the fan right there, and that means we can get up to this area early. And we can just do an LJ there to get over that gap. So now here, there's another fan that we don't activate. We didn't really, there wasn't like a skip for it or anything, we just don't activate it, that one right there. And that means that these gratings are not going to be spinning. So we're actually going to have to do some LJs to get past that. So we can just target in some specific places and do a double LJ there to skip past the skip turning on the fan. So this room here is actually quite precise. It's definitely difficult to do quickly without practice. So all of the fans are on a cycle, and you just kind of have to be quick with aiming. And it can be pretty tricky to do this quickly, but so far so good. What's a little annoying, so when you're on the ground, you can go into C up before, unfortunately missing the cycle there, so Case is going to have to wait and spin around. But I forgot what I was saying. Sorry. Oh yeah. So when you're on the ground, you can go into C up to get into the claw shot a little bit sooner. It's just a little bit faster. And while you're on grading, you can't go into C up. You do something a little different. You have to press L to target, which would make you go into first person a bit faster. But the problem is the Aralphos at the bottom. If you tried to target, you would end up targeting them. So it doesn't really work. And it's one of the reasons that room is so difficult, because once you get into the first person, it can be difficult to aim quickly. So right here, just a little time save. This is called Rob Shot, discovered by Rob West, I believe. And just, a quick claw shot up to the top. Save some time, since climbing is so slow in this game. So Kejsmaster is going to grab onto the tail here, and if he's fast enough, he can turn around and claw shot onto some of the gratings there, and actually prevent Argrok from flying away. So that's going to save quite a bit of time. I believe it wastes like 20-30 seconds even if you don't get that first try. And also, just a little fun fact: if you claw shot Argrok's tail on like the first frame possible, your game will actually soft lock for some reason. So pro tip: go slow. I guess. Right? You know, you'd figure that they wouldn't have a giant glowing weak spot, but I don't know. How does a species evolve like that? How does species evolve to have a giant glowing weak spot? That just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I'm not sure what Kejsmaster was doing there. You normally at the start, you would try to void out as fast as possible because it makes Argrok spawn right in the center, and you don't have to wait for him to fly around. And right here, we're going to see a fast strat. So if you equip Iron Boots when you claw shot onto the P-Hat there, right as Argrok starts blowing the flame, you can sink down far enough that Argrok sort of thinks that you fell down, and just stops blowing the flames. And so then you can go around to the back and claw shot on and get some attacks in. Also JD, very nice first try or alpha skip, I believe. And once again, very, very difficult. Only a couple pixels, so very precise trick, very nice to get that first try. Hold on a minute. So we're actually going to see a slightly different strat for this third phase here. So instead of sinking down, because Argrok sort of switches direction, Kejs is going to claw shot 3 times here, and then do a little bit of a setup. And if he did it correctly, which looks like he did, he can claw shot onto Argrok, and pretty good fight. So unfortunately, this wasn't the greatest segment because of the time loss in the room with the fans and claw shotting all the way to the top to get to the boss door. But that fight was basically perfect, so very, very good. Ooh, JD, unfortunately, the Dinalphos started attacking him. That's it can be really annoying to deal with the Dinalphos. There's just no like really fast way to kill them. There are some okay strats, but nothing too good. It's like one of the things that makes Zora armor a little bit slower, just because if you do the Zora armor round instead, you wouldn't have bombs. So in Hyrule Castle, there's a room with Dinalphos, and it just is slower to kill them. So you may have noticed Kejs put on the iron boot right before, because if you put on the iron boots and then dash, you can actually land on the bridge instead of in the water and just save a little bit of time. And you actually pretty much do have to get the heart container at the end of City, because when you do that jump attack down, you lose 2 hearts. So, and at the beginning of the fight, you void out, so you'd be at 2. So I guess you could also get a heart during the fight, but it's safer to just get the heart piece. Probably faster as well. So now we're coming up on Palace. Palace is kind of boring, honestly. There aren't really any cool skips or anything. There are a few interesting strats that I'll point out, but nothing really too major. And definitely very annoying to practice. Just because, you know, there really isn't anything too special. It's pretty vanilla. But if you want to get top times, that's what you gotta do. Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's the worst. I hate Temple of Time a lot more than Palace, and I rarely ever do it. But I'm still not a huge fan of Palace. The boss fight with Zant is pretty cool, though. That I will say. So right there, yeah, you can just side hop onto the chests. That ledge happens to be low enough, but the other one wasn't. So you can just do something similar to what we did in City, if you noticed, right after he save warped, after getting double claw shots. So here, Phantom's Ant, we're gonna see pretty interesting strat. So normally, when you attack Phantom's Ant, he will start warping around like sporadically. But we can do a strat here where we do one stab and then two quick spins, and then on the last one do 3 quick spins. And that's actually going to prevent him from warping around really fast all over the place. And makes the fight really fast. And that strat is actually a lot harder than it looks. Doing those quick spins altogether can be quite a grueling task for just whatever reason. In this fight in particular, it happens to be quite difficult to get those quick spins. Ooh, unfortunately, JD getting knocked down by Argrok, but fortunately he did not do the Zora armor out, so he should be able to. He did not die and should be able to recover pretty quickly. Yeah. So, Kejsmaster looked like he was being a little bit safe with that, with the soul. I guess, I don't know, usually you might just throw it, but you lose quite a bit of time if you don't get it in on the first throw, because it can just be really annoying to, looks like JD is reset his timer. I would assume that means a forfeit. I'm not sure. That's very, very unfortunate. But definitely understandable. He lost quite a bit of time to just some really stupid things happening. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe Yeah, so, yeah, again, really, but, we will be attempting to switch to just Kejsmaster's stream at this point. Yeah, definitely go follow JD, and you can watch his runs. Most of them will probably be better than this one. Yeah, this run was pretty unfortunate. With what happened in Arbiters. But I guess we'll just focus on Kejs for now. But yeah, still great job from JD. I'm sure we all appreciate him sticking through it for as long as he did. But anyway, so yeah. Ooh, getting the Spidey shot. So you can claw shot that target without letting the claw shot take you into first person, and it looks pretty cool. Definitely not the easiest thing in the world, though. Only saves a little bit of time. So once again, coming up on the second Phantom Zant fight, Kejs is going to hopefully do this one just as well as the last. Same idea. Stab 2 quick spins, stab 2 quick spins, stab 3 quick spins. So yeah, that was fight. So yeah, I would say that going back through East Wing with the Soul is much easier than West. This side just happens to be a lot simpler. Like in this next room, instead of having to throw the orb around like a set of stairs, like around a wall and whatever, like such a weird angle, you just kind of hold straight forward and then throw it. Much simpler. And in the next room, it's definitely does take a little bit of practice, but really not too much to be able to consistently jump across the moving platforms. Ooh, that was a little bit close, but yeah, that was good. Yeah, it's definitely possible to fall down there, and it can be quite unfortunate, but fortunately that didn't happen. And Kejs also getting the heart from the keys, just for safety, because there are just so many enemies in Palace that do. They just like pile on tons and tons of like shadow vermin, and it can just chip away at your health really, really, really fast. Which is why most people, except for like the top runners, usually opt to get 2 or 3 heart containers instead of just the one in city. We would get like the one in Lake Bed and Arbiters as well. But now Case is getting the light sword, which we can now one-shot all the Twilight enemies. He didn't go for the brake slide on this ramp there. Doesn't really save time, just looks cool. Yeah, so all those little enemies right there, that's basically why you want to have as many hearts as possible. Not just this room in particular, but just like in general in this dungeon, all of those enemies. Getting another safety heart. And Case is going to do an LJ here, just saves like a second. And then he can do a little bit of a trick here where you spin attack the orbs there and jump off immediately. And that just makes the platform lit up. And so when you go back over there after getting the key, it can just go up instantly. Getting another safety heart. Nice, nice. And good LJ. That one also saves about a second. Yeah, and definitely JD says they'll be doing a race. Case and him will be doing boss rush race after this, so definitely go follow both of them and check that out afterwards if you'd like. I'm sure it'll be pretty interesting. Yeah, so actually there are quite a bit of practice tools. You can practice on emulator, but I would say practicing on console is probably better just because, you have to do runs on console, so it just gives you a better feel. You can use NeoGamma cheats, or if you know what NeoGamma is, or there actually is a TPGZ, and it basically has everything that the NeoGamma cheats have, but slightly more. And definitely a useful practice tool. I still personally prefer NeoGamma because if I'm trying to practice segments, NeoGamma, you can launch the game through NeoGamma, and that's like valid for runs because it launches through the disk, so you get like legitimate load times. Whereas if you use TPGZ, it runs the game in Wii mode, so you will save time on load zones, which for segment practice is obviously not what you want because you're gonna get better times, I guess. So yeah, I personally prefer NeoGamma, but those are your options. So you may have noticed that right before the Shadow Beasts fell down, Case called Midna, and then instantly pressed B. That was actually intentional. So it manipulates the platform at the top of this room. So there's the platform at the top. You can see it moving up in the top right there. Is actually on a cycle. And you want to make that cycle. So getting that cycle, which looks like he did, if you miss it, you lose about 15 seconds. But calling Midna, pretty much, there's another strat that you can do that involves LJAs that are a bit more risky, but calling Midna is just quite a bit easier, quite a bit safer, and is about the same speed. Maybe a tiny bit slower, but really not by much. So definitely worth it to do anyways. It just really doesn't cost anything. It's sort of, I'm not sure exactly what it does. I believe it like stops the platform, but doesn't stop the timer for the Shadow Beasts falling, something like that. So that's why it like saves a little bit of time to call Midna anyways. So here you're seeing Kejs spin attacking and killing the Shadow Beasts like as they fall from the sky, and that's just because the timing is always exactly the same. So we can just memorize when they fall down and time our spin attacks. So now we are entering the Zant, which is really, really, really cool. Definitely one of the coolest boss fights in probably all of Zelda. So Zant has, I believe, 5 phases. 5 or 6, sorry. And we have some pretty cool strats that we can use. So one thing about Zant is really the only hit that actually matters is the finishing combo hit. So as you could see, Kejs can start doing his combo a little bit early because he doesn't actually need to hit Zant with all 4 hits. He just needs to hit the finishing combo. I don't know how to do it, but it saves like 15 seconds. And there we go, that one cycle. Very, very nice. So here is where we have to, this is the second use of needing to refill our air with water bombs. This is the last time that we'll have to do that. But this is why you need to get the permanent bomb bag, and this is why you need to make sure you have bombs at this point. Because otherwise you just can't do the fight. So yeah. And Zant will always spawn in the head furthest away from you. So we can sort of use that and just know exactly which head he's going to spawn. Which definitely helps for when you don't have the Zora armor. So yeah, perfect underwater phase. So next up is the Ook phase. There's a small time saver, but where we do something a little bit different with the combos. Yeah, so we start with the jump attack, and we can actually knock him down with the ball and chain here, and then do a jump attack into quick spin, just a little bit faster than doing 2 combo slashes. And now we have the ball and chain strat, or the Snow Peak phase. And this is actually the only reason that we get the ball and chain. If this did not exist, if this phase did not exist, we wouldn't even have to go to Snow Peak, which would definitely save quite a bit of time. It's just so unfortunate that we can't find any way around this. You know, there's no other uses. You know, you might think like, oh, what about the like the final boss fight? Well, like the Beast Ganon phase, right? We use the ball and chain there. Well, we could just transform into Wolf. And now in this last phase, there's a very, very cool strat. So, like I said before, the finishing hit of the combo is really the only thing that matters, and so it's very important that Kejs actually only hits Zant with the finishing combo of these slashes, because otherwise it will sort of mess with everything, and Zant will start doing, that's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, so as you can see, Zant sort of just starts doing really random stuff, teleporting around. Just the whole thing is just terrible. Unfortunately, he missed the stab before, but there we go. As you can see, all it takes is 3 finishing combo slashes in this final phase. So if you can do the setups correctly, that fight can actually be like ridiculously fast and very, very clean. Anyways, that's Palace. So we are now approaching the end of the run. Only thing left to do is go straight to Hyrule Castle. Yeah. So this run is still on sub 3 pace. So hopefully Kejs can finish strong. I believe in him. Right here we have a quick mailman skip. You can just use the boomerang to do an LJ over the trigger. And now we can head off to Hyrule. And if you have to go to the bathroom, go now. This is the time. This is the bathroom break time. We have the Squidna cutscene coming up, and it's such a long cutscene. I don't know why they didn't make it skippable. It's really, really unfortunate that it's not skippable. But yeah. Unfortunately, JD got some pretty bad luck. So yeah, JD actually got the if you've ever seen Death Sword, Death Sword like floating up into the ceiling, which is really, really unlucky. Alright, Squid in a cutscene finally over. Now we can go into Hyrule. Hyrule Castle. So there's actually a pretty funny strat coming up right here. In this barrier, you just kind of take out a bomb and then stand still and do nothing, and then all the bokoblins die. And then we can just go forward. So this barrier is as well. This barrier was just very poorly programmed. It's just programmed to show up very late for some reason, so we can just kind of roll in, skip the cutscene, and then roll out. And it's really, really easy. I mean, like, you know, if you're looking to just try like a random Twilight Princess glitches, I mean, like that one. Yeah, everything in this game except the barrier is poorly programmed. I don't know if I'd call this good or bad programming, but definitely bad for us. So I know in like a lot of games, there aren't really that many dependencies. So like, for example, in Pokemon speedruns, in like Gen 4, for example, the game only checks for like the last couple of badges or something like that. So like, you don't you don't really need to, like, if you can find skips, then you can just kind of go to the end of the game. But Twilight Princess is like, oh, you have to beat Lake Bed to trigger, like, you have to like beat get rid of the barrier, and to Palace you have to get the mirror shards, and to get the mirror shards you have to go to Arbiter. To get to Arbiters, you have to do Midnight's Desperate Hour, which means you have to beat Lake Bed. So it's like you have just all these dependencies that just make it so hard to find like really, really, really big sequence breaks. And you know, we have some good ones like early Master Sword and like, you know, early City, but again, nothing like barrier skip in like Wind Waker, for example, where you can just skip the entire game basically. Yeah, that's true. Games are programmed to play well and feel good to play, not necessarily to prevent players from doing certain things. But I guess with Twilight Princess, they just did a really good job of making sure to do anything. I would love to find Ace in Twilight Princess. I mean, I know that it would probably make the run really boring. I think like barrier skip, depending on how you do it, would also make the run really boring. But man, this game is just so long. I just think it would be so cool to So. Like a combo, and that will do like a specific amount of damage. And if we do that twice, that is that'll make it so the exact amount of damage left is just like a wolf B attack, running B attack. So doing that specific set of attacks makes it so Beast Cannon just only makes one portal and then just comes out of that one portal. But that was a really good fight. But now we have Horseback coming up. And Horseback is... Horseback is kind of interesting. There are multiple strats. I'm not sure which one Casey's going to go for, but there's one that I see most top runners do, so I imagine it's the fastest. Yeah, you kind of go off to the side like that. Basically, what you have to do is get Ganondorf to attack you, but miss, which is... especially if you're, like playing the game casually. So we just have like specific strategies for making that happen as fast as possible. So yeah, right here, coming up in the final fight, this should definitely be sub 3 as far as I can tell. Hopefully, Case can get the fastest final phase. It's pretty simple, so I believe in him. Oh yeah, also something specific to German. This text, actually, you can just leave it up. On any other version, you have to actually go through it. But in the German version, the game doesn't actually make you go through it, so you can just not mash through it and just have text here. And it's pretty funny. Alright. Okay. And there you have it. Ganondorf knocked down that quickly. And awesome. Really, really, really nice run. Sub 3 is really, really good. And yeah, that was just a really, really amazing, amazing run from Case. GG. Awesome job from both runners, really. Once again, what happened to JD was pretty unfortunate. But you can go follow him and see some much better runs, and also from Case.
Hello.
Hello, hi. I guess
Hi.
yeah, I guess we're doing an interview. Yeah, that was a really awesome run. Sub 3 is very good for a race for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Garbo run. To me personally,
Well, yeah, I guess
Hey.
you're used to
Hi.
much better times than that, but I would say for a race that was not bad.
yeah, fine for a race. I need someone who like plays on par where I like really try. So like if you notice like so many things, I just play sloppy. I lost like 15 seconds because I went getting like to get food while the
Yeah,
other cutscene
yeah.
was going. So
Yeah.
like if I don't care anymore, I like lose like 20 seconds just from playing sloppy on almost every segment. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And, JD, what happened, dude? What happened with the with arbiters? That was with Death Sword.
Dude, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a
You
low
still
chance
did well,
that can happen, but
maybe.
it did.
And both of you guys had pretty good early games from what I remember. Am I wrong?
And it's, yeah, like I liked our beginnings. It really just started to like diverse from Gortroid on, and it's kind of where you like at this type of level almost. It's kind of like expected that that's like the turning point, because it's not really likely for a good person to miss or just skip or pillar clip.
Yeah.
But Gortroid is like that kind of thing where it's like yeah.
Yeah, it's just a one frame trick. You just lose a minute if
Exactly.
you're not
Yeah.
Baptist.
Yeah.
So, like, I think early game is also the point in the race where if you're not on par, like on skill wise, you need to just nail everything in early game, and the other guy has to like mess up in early game, and you need this like lead. So even if you're not good enough with like movement or like smaller strats, you can still keep a lead by just barely playing slower. So if you don't
Yeah.
really get that lead, it's really hard to like keep up if the other guy is just a tiny bit better.
Yeah,
There's so
early game
much to
is
go.
early game is just one of the hardest parts. There's just so many tricks almost back to back to back, and there's also like just so much RNG. So that can definitely like desync players really quick, especially in a race.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah.
yeah. Anyway, if you guys anything else that you want to say before
But JD and I are gonna do a quick boss rush race. It's like half an hour long. So if you want to see that, go check either of our channels up, because it's gonna come like right now, or like we're gonna start pretty much now.
Yeah. It's gonna be pretty sick.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you all enjoyed.